the show. Oh my gosh, so many people in the audience tonight. This is a Drink with Live, and we're so excited you guys are here. This is so amazing. Firstly, just a huge thank you to our sponsor, Think Protein Bars, for making all of this possible so we can all get together and raise a drink, which we should do from the very jump. Cheers, everybody, and welcome. Woohoo! Yes. Drink, sip, cheers. I'm your host, by the way. I am Catt, and each week we are going to gather right here with a very special guest and an equally special audience. So get your questions ready. There's a little chat box down there, the text box, so you can send questions to us throughout the conversation that we will be answering later in the show. So get ready to be called on so you can be a part of this whole experience. Tonight, I have to say, is super meaningful, not just because our guest is incredible and accomplished and successful, all of the things, a former TV executive and now a best-selling author, but she is also a really dope human. She is my friend. Everyone, please welcome Tara Schuster. There
Hi,
she is.
hi, my darling cat. Hi, friend. Thank you for having me.
Hello. We're so happy that you're here. And I know that a lot of these people that are with us are here because of you, because they are diehard fans of yours. You have created just such a phenomenal community through all of your outreach and all of your shares and your writing, which, gosh, I'm sure most people know, but your book, the best-selling Buy Yourself the Effing Lilies, has been just revolutionary in many ways. But I want to, before we get into all of that, I want to, oh wait, first we're supposed to toast. I almost forgot to ask what you're drinking. I was just going in with the questions. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a tequila soda. Tequila is my very good friend. We're close. I like a tequila.
Is that one of your better relationships, would you say?
I would say we're doing pretty well. It's historically a pretty good thing.
Okay, well, I'm just having a nice light Pinot Noir this evening.
Mm,
This is my first drink of the whole week, so I'm savoring this with you and with everybody who is here watching. But what I started, and cheers, we should sip because it's bad luck if you don't
cheers.
toast and then don't. Mm. Um,
That's good.
take us to Comedy Central, if you will, because you, professionally speaking, you know, are this successful executive. You're young, you're hungry, you're hustling, you get this great job, you soar at that, like most things you do, and then boom, you start writing a memoir, everything shifts, you have this huge change, and then now by definition you're a writer. And I know that was scary for you, and putting yourself in front of the world like that the way you have can be quite a daunting experience. So how did that shift happen?
Yeah, so I'm going to take us back to sort of the very beginning of it, which is I never set out to write a book. It was never in my mind to write a book. I was the VP of talent and development at Comedy Central. I was totally in the comedy world. I worked on shows like Key and Peele and with David Spade. That was my life. Um, but really, I was very professionally successful, but internally, I was having a real struggle. Um, so I didn't set out to write a book. I set out to save my life. See,
Mm.
I had grown up in a very neglectful, abusive household where things came to die. Like all the pets died, all the plants died. A family of deer wandered into the pool and they died. Um, and it's not funny, except sometimes I have to laugh because it was so bleak, and like that's my
Yeah.
my only sort of deflection. But my
Yeah.
sister and I, we made it out. And we made it out by being so dedicated to school. Like we were always really good at work. So I was always really good at presenting as like, I've got it together. Like, look at my grades, look at my career, here we go. But internally, that whole time at Comedy Central, I was just imploding. Like, I'm so sorry if you sat next to me on the one train going uptown in New York and I was like sobbing on you. Like, sorry if I
Mm.
ruined your day, because I was that girl just like crying on a stoop, crying in the subway. And I didn't know where all these emotions were coming from because in my mind, I shouldn't have it this bad. Like, I didn't have the worst childhood ever. I shouldn't be allowed to be this miserable. So I wasn't really
Mm,
dealing with it. Like I never really thought I needed help because my dad was a lawyer and my mom was a doctor, and I shouldn't feel this way. Now,
yeah.
I might have kept going that way, internally suffering, externally using achievement to kind of make up my personality. So I was really good at work, really bad at life, anxiety, depression taking over my life. And I might have kept just going this way, externally hustling for my worth, internally melting down, except that on my 25th birthday, I drunk dialed my therapist and threatened to hurt myself. And the threat was so real that the next morning I awoke to all of these voicemails from her. And she was trying to find me and she was trying to get me to get help. And so I had never worried about myself because, again, I should be fine, right? Like, I present well, like, I'm starting to get a real salary, like, everything's fine. But when I heard the worry in her voice, I got worried. So that next morning, I decided, okay, I never really had parents, not the kind to nurture you or make you feel unconditional love. I have so many questions like, what are values, what are principles, like what are vegetables, like genuinely what are they, and like which one should I be eating, like I had all these questions. I had no one to ask. I didn't have some wise mentor, or and I couldn't go to my parents. So I just decided, well, what if I treated this as like a work project or a school project? What if I made like a Google Doc, a curriculum of how to reparent myself, and answered all these questions? And so that's what I started to do just by, I read the books of Nora Ephron like they were self-help books. When she said you should only have like 2 glasses of wine at dinner, I was like, that's a little prudish. Like, is that real, Nora Ephron? But I would try it on, and I would try all these different solutions on, and I'd write about it. And so at the end of 5 years, I actually had a 600-page Google Doc. I felt like a completely different person, like someone who was healed. And that's when I realized, oh, I have an offering. Like, I have something for anybody who's been on this road. And I feel compelled to share it. Like, I want to help people the way I wish somebody would have helped me when I started this journey of healing. So that's sort of how the book came about.
I have an offering. I can be of service. And then you started, I mean, by the way, first of all, that's completely, I know you, so that's a beautiful, soulful, um, to find the purpose out of that, to not just heal yourself, but to heal people everywhere in the audience tonight and around the globe. I mean, the book is in 5 languages now. I mean, that is incredible. But it can be daunting. You don't know that it's going to be a success when you're writing it. You don't know if people
No,
are going to read it. You don't know what your corporate America is going to say when you're like, I'm over here, by the way, setting my alarm at a certain time of day to make sure I can write this book and do my job. What was that
right.
feeling like before birthing it? Once you have the vision, you write it, and then it's like you got to go out and like like be this vulnerable human in front of the world who, by the way, all of us fear rejection, or what if it's a failure, or what if, all these things. What was that phase like before, sitting here today with all your diehard fans here to hear from you?
Yeah, by the way, hello to Team Lilies. For any of you who showed up, like, I feel you and I thank
Ah!
you for being here. I feel your energy. Um, yeah, if I had really thought about it more, it might have been really scary, but I just was like, I'm gonna do it. If I had been a smarter person, I might have thought more through what the repercussions would be. But I will say some people in my life were like, oh, is this going to close the door for you being an executive ever again? Like, are people going to judge you? And I finally was just like, if people judge me for being me, someone who survived a neglected, abusive childhood, if you're going to judge me for that, let's not work together. I do not want to be a part of your organization. I've used all those things to grow into the person I am now, which I think is a pretty empathetic, compassionate, tries to be a good person at work. Like, I only see it as a benefit, and I don't really want to be in an environment that sees that as somehow a judgment against me. So
Yeah.
that's sort of how I
Yeah.
handled it. I just didn't think it
Yeah.
through, and then I was like, and screw them. if that's the
And
case.
screw them. Well, for people who have not read the book that are here with us, and that are now seeing this, buy yourself the effing lilies. What is the symbolism there? What is the core of this messaging? What does it say? What does it mean?
So I really had in my mind that I was not worth anything. That's what my childhood taught me, was that I was not worth anything. And that the messaging I got was, my parents were constantly like, this marriage ruined my life. This divorce is ruining my life. Your education is putting me in debt. So I really thought that I was just not a worthwhile human being. And that would play out in lots of small ways in my life. In particular, I would be at Trader Joe's, good old TJ's, and I would see lilies, like my favorite plant on earth. I love how they just like burst open with perfume and elegance and just elevate any room they're in. And I'd see them and I'd see that they were $7.99, and I'd think, ah, I'm not worth that. Like, they're just gonna die. It's not worthwhile. Those aren't for me. I don't deserve it. And as I did the work of reparenting, what I came to realize is those basics are a luxury you must provide yourself. Like, why else are we here on earth? We're not just here to grind out work all the time with no enjoyment. We are here in part to be grateful for things like lilies, and that denying myself lilies was mean, and there was no reason to be mean to myself anymore. I didn't need to continue to abuse myself. I didn't need to keep neglecting myself. And so the lilies, I treat all the small things in my life like the miracles that they actually are. We often think a trip to Hawaii, my big blowout bachelorette, like, if I get that, then I'll be happy. But I'm saying,
Yeah.
like, if you make your bed, then you'll feel better. If you buy the lilies, your day will be more enjoyable. That it's we get so focused on big picture, but it's really like your day. What was your day like? What was your Tuesday like? That's where we can get so much joy. And so that's the message of buy yourself the lilies.
This is why we're friends. It's true. I mean, listen, and for some of our younger people, I think the older you get and the longer you live, these are the things that you just kind of learn over time. It isn't about that finish line way over there, or that trip way over there. People have a bucket list or whatever it is, and all that is fine. But it's like, if you miss the moments, if you miss the minutes, if you miss all of the in between, the beauty and the mundane, then, what's it all for? Because that's being alive, not just living, but being alive while we are here. For people who are listening and watching that need to find that for themselves, and to kind of almost fine tune those moments of every day to kind of see or have the awakening that you had and have had. Talk about some of the things you do, some of your rituals, the ways you love yourself, the way you take care of yourself, that they might be able to apply to their own lives. Just little exercises that can help them find that just peace and that overall joy in the day to day.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important. And I think oftentimes we don't want to start because it feels really overwhelming. Like, you'll know, oh man, there's something missing in my life. There's something that feels wrong, but I don't even want to start because it's what's it all going to look like in the end? And I don't want to rehash the past. So my message is, what are like the smallest rituals? And for me, the one that really brings me self-awareness and the most joy consistently is journaling. And I've been journaling every day for 10 years. I'm not the first person to say that it's important, but what I talk about is it's like DMing with your soul. it's a really easy way to get in touch with how do I actually feel? Like, what's the truth? Because we don't really tell the truth a lot of the time, right? We're telling like versions of the truth to our friends, and maybe even sometimes we're lying to ourselves a little about our behaviors and our choices. But a journal, just the act of having to write out how you feel, the act of having to check in every day builds an incredible amount of self awareness. And self awareness is always the first step in any kind of self care or any kind of healing process, is even just to know here's what needs to be healed. So, journaling would be my number one go to. And then number two would be exercise, which again, I'm not the first person to say this, but the simple act of sweating, of like being in your body, of like claiming, like, oh, I'm here on earth. Like, let me use this amazing thing I have. It makes me feel powerful and like I have some agency. And I am a non-athlete to the core. Like, I ran the mile in saddle shoes and tights in school. Like, I'm not, like no one has ever mistaken me for an athlete. And yet, what I find is that consistently running, walking outside, being in trees, having the sun on me, uh the like returns on that are incredible. So journaling
Mm-hmm.
and having some physical practice are free, available to everyone. I'm not saying you have to go run a triathlon. I'm saying, did you walk around the block? Did you do
Yeah.
something to be in the world? Yeah, those would be
Yes,
my
it is.
two go to.
I'm so glad you point that out. Just that, just to move, right? Just to move, just to get out the front door. It's just that simple as a way to start, Although I will
Yeah.
say, now look at you, girl. Now, I mean, hello, Miss Former. I wasn't an athlete. I'm not an athlete. Tara's out here running 9 miles and thinking about our first half marathon. And I mean, you are just such a living, breathing example of someone who, wasn't that person, but made the decision and decided. And now, you're thriving because of that commitment to yourself and that discipline. And then it doesn't happen overnight. It didn't happen for you. You weren't running nine
No,
miles on week one. You were literally just like, I need to move. And look what can happen from that.
it took 10
Talk to me.
years.
10 years.
Like that
Oh,
was
okay.
that was 10 years of like getting out the door. It was little by little, but that's the
Yeah.
good news is you can change basically anything with a long enough timeline.
Yeah.
We get stuck thinking I'm not an athlete. You can become one, just give it a little time. Give it a little
Yeah.
practice.
And I love what you said, just the rewards of that. Oh, it's so, so, so good. You have created such a community, and you have Team Lilies, and
Yay.
you've got this like devoted fan base. This has become your tribe, and for many people who are part of your community, this is their tribe. And we as women, I talk about this with my all my friends often. It's like, the importance of community and having one another. I mean, how do we find our tribe? Why is that important? Why is it, people are here tonight on their Thursday night when they probably got dishes or they got kids or they've got, other things they could be doing, but they're here because this is their community. This is where they feel supported and they feel inspired. It's really vital, I think, to our overall health, the mental health piece, the emotional, all of that. It's, none of this is, something we should experience in complete solitude, right? It's part of it, part
Right.
of the puzzle.
Yeah, I mean, I think the quality of your friendships, the quality of your relationships reflect the quality of your life. It reflects what your values are, what are your priorities. And there's something so special about humans. Like, we get to love. What other creatures, I can't get into the mind of a squirrel, but we know we can love. And so I want to exercise that amazing emotion as much as I can, not only because it's a positive force for my community. It feels good. It feels good when I care about somebody else and I pour care into somebody else. That lights my soul on fire. So relationships are obviously friendships are just so important. And I think as we get older, we say things like, well, it's hard to make friends as an adult. It's
Mm.
difficult to make friends. And, I kind of want to call BS on that. It's
Mm.
difficult to be a coal miner. It's difficult to wait,
Mm.
like to be on hold with an airline. That's difficult. Reaching out to somebody and saying like, "Hey, do you want to hang out?" is not. And actually, I think that's how we're friends. And I might even be butchering this, but we met through, I was a guest on your podcast and we hit it off. And if memory serves correct, I think I emailed you and was just like, "You're really cool. Do you want to hang out?" Which, it sets me up for rejection, right? But what was the worst that was going to happen? You ignored the email or didn't want to hang. My life would go on. I've been through worse. But what was the best? I know what, but what
Yes.
was the best case scenario? The best case scenario is that I would have a dear friend for the pandemic and beyond, and the best case scenario happened. And so
Yeah.
my encouragement to people is always, if you find that you don't have the tribe you want today, do not worry. I would write out a list of people in your life who are acquaintances or people you kind of know already but want to get to know better, and then ask them to hang. Be
Yeah.
a good friend to them. And I
Yeah.
would be surprised if you weren't able to add some people to your tribe.
Mm, I love that. I think I need to apply that to dating also. You're sounding like my therapist today. You have to ask. You need to make the call. I'm not quite there yet. The friend piece is a little bit easier for me, but I hear everything you are saying. And speaking of people who want to get to you, we have a couple people in the audience right now who have their questions ready,
Great.
and we're going to start with Michelle, I understand, who is going to go first. So, Michelle, if you have your question, go ahead and hit Tara with that now.
Hi, Michelle. Are you mute? Are you muted?
We see her.
Hello, sorry, I was just having difficulties unmuting.
Oh, you're
Hi,
good.
Tara.
You're good.
Yeah, I'm
Hi,
good, thank
Michelle.
you. I'm calling from Melbourne, Australia. So it's 11:30 a.m. Friday for me. So
Whoa.
yeah, hi. Yeah, thanks so much for writing the book. I really, really loved it. Yeah, my question for you is, I wanted to know about your life now. Like, are you still at Comedy Central, or have you like moved on? And like, how has your life changed since writing and publishing by the fucking Lilies? Or sorry, by the Lilies.
You're good. Well, first off, thank you for calling from the future. Like, thank you for inviting us into Friday. In America, it's Thursday. And thank you for reading the book. So I'm no longer at Comedy Central because I'm pursuing writing sort of full time now. And, I'm hope to have some very exciting things to share publicly. But, I feel like I've really found the thing that I love to do. And what I love to do is like connect with you and tell stories to you and get feedback. And so hopefully, this road is going to be a good one.
Love that. Love that. Love that. Okay. And that was a great question. Shout out to Australia. That's so cool. Next up, we have Samantha, who has a question for you, Tara. Samantha, you are up, girl.
Hi, Samantha.
Hello, can you hear me? Is it working?
Yeah.
We chatted on email a little bit earlier this week, so it's so nice to see you real time. My question is related to the context that we talked a little bit about, which is this idea that healing can take a lot of time and energy. And so my question is in the context of functioning as a normal human with a job and other things, how do you recommend making time for these large reparenting tasks?
It's such a great question, and thank you for being a part of Team Lilies and subscribing to the newsletter and emailing with me. Um, so the first thing I'm going to say two things. The first thing is that self-care we should not use against ourselves. So we're hypercritical, especially as women, and anything we do wrong is another reason to be like, oh my God, I didn't do yoga today. What is wrong with me? I know that yoga works and da da da. No, 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 honey. We are not going to beat ourselves up because we missed a good habit. Like, I can't stand that. So the first thing is, healing is difficult. Taking care of yourself in a society that is against us taking care of ourselves is hard. So we recognize that. And when we miss something that we know would feel good, we just say, it's okay, sweetheart. I'm going to come back to this. Tomorrow I'm going to try again. The next day I'm going to try again. And the second thing I'd say, though, is that if you find yourself doing that over time, if you find yourself missing your morning routine every day for 2 weeks, then I love you very much. But you got to ask, is it a priority? Like, is this self-care thing actually a priority? And if you want it to be, then you got to make it a priority. And you might need to wake up a little earlier or readjust other parts of your life to make it happen. So we're never going to beat ourselves up for missing self-care. And on the other hand, we're going to do everything in our power to make it a part of our lives and not let ourselves, totally off the hook when it's a habit we want to establish. And so, like, good luck to you. I'm so glad that you're on this path.
That's such a good answer, Tara. I love that. I love that. Self-compassion,
Yeah.
Balanced with that commitment all at the same time. Okay, we have actually two more questions, so I'm going to go ahead and shoot it over to Catherine. Catherine Durant, I believe, is next. Catherine can ask Tara a question. Hi.
Hello. I'm actually
Hi,
going by
Catherine.
Kat also. So happy to
Kat.
be here, Team Lilies. Your book has
Woo!
seriously changed my life in so many different ways. I can't even thank you enough for sharing your truth with all of us. My question
thank you for letting me know.
Yeah, of course. My question is, with your increasing popularity, how have you seen your personal relationships change, both positively and negatively? Have you experienced jealousy? And yeah.
That's such a good question. And so I feel like Team Lilies always has like the best questions, and I'm like, oh, I never even thought about that. It's funny. I think my friendships haven't really changed, but I think the relationships haven't changed. I've changed. The book has forced me to be more and more myself and to have more and more boundaries, because if I'm going to be the one here saying all of this, then I got to like walk the walk for real. And so in some of my family relationships, there's someone in my family who's really dear to me who I'm not speaking to right now, because historically they keep doing the same things over and over again. And I realized, unless I put up a boundary, they've got no reason to change. So like, I'm not going to do that. So the book has really just forced me to be more and more myself, and to go after friendships I really, really want, and to not accept behavior that makes me feel diminished and bad. But no jealousy that I'm aware of. I think my lady harem and everybody in my inner orbit has mostly just been like so supportive and great. And then I have Team Lilies, like, knock on wood, but people don't really like troll me. I think if you're into the book, you're a pretty like optimistic person who wants to see positive change in the world. So it's like a nice self-selecting group, and I just find it so supportive. So yeah, it's such a good question, and that's what I would say.
I love that. I'm over here going, I get trolled. Consider yourself lucky, Tara.
I know. I'm like, and now that I said that, enter the trolls.
Cue the trolls. Just kidding. We have one time for one last question. Rachel, I don't want to eat up your time. So Rachel, over to you.
Oh no. Did I just am I on mute? No, okay. Hi.
Hi.
I am on Team Lilies. I just have been slacking and haven't been there in a long time. But yeah,
Okay.
I was in the first Zoom meeting.
Hi.
But I mean, thank you. I won't get into all that. You know, your book was great. I've listened to it about 40 times. But my question is, how did you come up with all of your tools? Like, I mean, I know some of them were suggested to you, like the running, the oh fuck Julia, oh sorry, whatever, you know, or whatever was one of those. But you know, some of like the journaling and all of your different tools. How did you come up with all of that? Like, I'm amazed. I've been dealing with all of this for half my life, and I can't, like, it amazes me how you did all of this on your own in terms of no professional, you know.
Right.
So I'm
Yeah,
just
it's so I think in my case, a God-given gift, something I never asked for, is I'm a sponge. I'm like a curious sponge. So I'm always looking for how do I do that? How could this be improved? Like I'm always problem solving, and it probably comes from my childhood of being pretty much on my own, of having to problem solve a lot. So it's just a natural thing about me. So when I was
okay.
approaching this whole project of reparenting myself, I just started asking questions and then following the questions. So, you know, if you're looking for like what tools could help me, like I literally just Googled things. Like, you know, in the book I write about, I would just Google what are principles, which one should I have? You know,
Yeah.
it wasn't like I had some master plan. It's just, it's about being curious about yourself and then committing to finding out the answer and just experimenting with it. So yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
yeah,
That's so cool to hear you say, Tara, because now the beauty of you and your gifts and your service is that all the people that are here with us tonight, they don't have to Google, they can just read your book and they can just subscribe to your newsletter and they can just go to your Instagram, because you are this well of information and inspiration, and you're doing the work for all of us, and then we'll meet you halfway and we'll do our own work. And I just you're phenomenal. I'm just so glad you were here. And you're right. Team Lily, so devoted and such great questions, you guys. Are you guys having
so
fun?
good.
Show me some life out there in the audience. Yes, we're getting high fives. We're getting waves. Okay, we have to do one last toast. I love that, like, I'm peeking at the audience when you're speaking, and like people are running to the kitchen and they're like buttering some bread and they're coming back. I mean, this virtual world isn't terrible. I just want to point that out, right? We're all
No,
still at
it's pretty
home.
cool.
I'm barefoot. You know, it's like, you know, it's all, and we're getting all of this fabulous information and inspiration and connection. So, Tara, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for sharing your time and your mind and your heart with us. So much love.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you,
yes,
Kat. Thank
yes,
you
yes. Go ahead, take those selfies.
thank you for being like such a good friend and for having me. And thank you to Team Lilies for showing up. Thank you for being here.
Woo, woo, woo. Well, thank you all around. Lots of gratitude to everyone. A thank you to our sponsor, Think Protein Bars. Once again, we couldn't do all this without you at all. So thank you so very much. For more on Tara and the show and how to stay connected week after week, go to drinkwith.com. And we'll see you back here next week to do it all over again. Lots of love, everybody. Cheers. See you next time.